Now, if you drive around certain areas of the United States, you're left perplexed at how the hell people afford all these new cars and trucks that are $30, $40, $50 plus $1,000. Well, the straight answer is most people are in debt, either car loans or leases on this stuff. And if you're more frugal minded or you don't make a ton of money, don't feel bad. Most of us are not raking it in, and this car, the Seltos, which is a complete nonsensical name, is trying to be designed for a global market, not just the United States, which is they're trying to blend all the things that people want across the globe into an affordable package that's safe and still enjoyable to drive. So let's get into some of the interior aspects that make this good. Now, I know you're wondering, I hope the interior isn't as bad as this snot rocket green that they've included on the exterior. And, you know, I've talked to Kia reps enough to know that what they're trying to do here is give you more modern design. And yes, it's a lot of ripping off of like luxury brands and premium brands, but it's not poorly executed, nor is the interior space. So I'm going to focus on some of the things that make this special. One, the turbo models, the S and the SX, which this is the fully loaded trim. The S starts around $26,000, and that is an extreme value for what you get. And you also get the blended technology of old and new. You're not being overwhelmed with a ton of gimmicks. You have a manual parking brake on the S. You have manual climate control where you turn the heating and cooling knob and you hear the blend door moving. It's not all digital. And if you like that, you're going to love it. But when you move up to the SX trim, they're adding a bigger center screen, but you still have analog gauges. You get the bigger infotainment with more features like the sounds of nature that give you the ocean or serial killers walking in the snow. You also get multiple panes, better screen, just a better screen quality overall, including voice memo capability. It just seems faster to operate. But even on the S trim, you're not totally penalized. The infotainment is very basic. It works well. There's all the physical controls you need. But the main thing is you just have to figure out price, because when you go up to the SX, it jumps up to around $29,000. And I think you get a majority of every single thing you want in the S model. Now, the audio systems are not the greatest. The bass audio, if you really love to listen to music, it's not good at all. It just sounds super, super tinny. There's literally no bass response. It just cuts off. I'll put the graphs up comparing the Bose audio and the regular audio so you can make your decision if you want to fork over the extra money. Now, there's a lot of hard plastics in here and there's way too much piano gloss, but the functionality of everything works really well. The shifter is old mechanical style. You can still shift it. It's not shift by wire. There's no digi-stick. Most of your selectors and rotary knobs are simple and placed in areas that are intuitive. So up top, you have your volume knob. Lower, you have your HVAC knob, and your bottom is your drive knob. Pretty much everything else is push button. And when you utilize this, you just connect with the car without being annoyed or just wondering what the hell things do. And that's great for a car in this price range. And that's one of the big things that you're gonna love about this. In terms of quality of materials, even on the S, the seats are really comfortable. They're a bit flat and hard. It's gonna take a while to break them in. The armrest is padded. The door area is padded, and there's a ton of area for your right knee if you're taller. There's a huge cutout here. It's not padded, but I think you're gonna fit in here regardless of your size, big or small. Most of the other textures in here, like this faux leather, there's attempts at kind of coating the dashboard so there's a little bit more geometry and style. The speaker grills have this mountainous texture to it, and on the upper trim, they glow at night. They have the party mode like the Kia Soul. And to me, this feels more upscale to the Kia Soul while still maintaining all the simplicity. And to me, way more usability because you're adding all-wheel drive. The back seat space is also extremely good. In my driving position, I have good room in front of me with my knee space. I have room to grow there. My head never hits the pillars. And when you lift up the hatch in the back, even with the seats up, this is a really good CUV in terms of usability. It's a manual hatch. There's no automated lift gate in the back, which is good. You don't have the complexity there. You can throw it up easily and throw it down, but if you're somebody that needs the automated feature, that's not here. With the seats down, you can fit a lot more in here, and I feel like this is that perfect upgrade to that Kia Soul. It's that in-between product that gives you everything you want, that doesn't bend you over in price. It still looks decent without being completely quirky, and there's more color options that Kia typically does. Thank God not everything's white, silver, and black. And everything seems to function quite well. Let's head into the shop and talk about some of the things that make this a bit more special for the price range. Underneath the Kia Seltos. Now, most of the buyers that are looking at this aren't going to care about all the nuts and the bolts, so I'm going to give you the highlights. This is built on the same platform as the Hyundai Elantra and Kia Forte or Kia Ceed. And the main thing that gives you is independent rear suspension, no torsion beam here, so it elevates the ride quality quite a bit compared to like the Kia Soul. If you care about ride quality more, you want to spend the extra money here, it's definitely worth it. So let's go on to the next thing. I get asked this all the time. How is it that Hyundai and Kia are capable of selling things for a lower price like this and giving you all the features? Well, there's two things. One is they have their own steel manufacturing in South Korea, which means they don't have to import steel from China or other countries. So they have the infrastructure to build these, and that's why a lot of the Hyundai and Kia products are almost all steel. They don't use a ton of aluminum on all their cars. The second thing is they are one of the biggest players in the robotics industry, and that is a major factor. And I talked about this in the Tesla video. When Tesla wanted to scale up production, go to all high-tech mass production, they had a huge problem when they had to go buy all the robotics, source companies to actually help them build the cars, and they still were having issues with it. So it's not as simple as just, oh, I want to buy some robots and they're going to build a car. It's not how it works. It's all software. And since Hyundai is a major player in that, all the robotics and the software development that has been just completely mastered on their part, and you see it in some of the manufacturing of this car. It saves time, it improves quality. Like the underbody sealers, for example. I mean, there's just an art to the way that the robotics can apply all these sealers. It looks so clean. There's barely any pinch welds that are not covered here. So part of that is improving the overall quality of it and driving down cost because they own all of that stuff. The other thing is they use far more body adhesives than some of the other companies do. That quiets the car down. They don't have to use as much steel. It increases structural rigidity. Basically, they're using more structural glue here, and we can get into that later. But the main thing is, this is a cheaper product because of those things. Now, front suspension is strut. Rear is multi-link. This has an on-demand all-wheel drive setup. And unlike a lot of the other cars or the other Kias and Hyundais that I've driven that have turbo motors and front-wheel drive, they've gotten so bad because you can't utilize all that power. You're paying for an engine that's turbocharged, you're paying for the marketing, you're paying for all that torque, then you mash the throttle or put your foot down more than 20%, you're getting wheel spin, the car doesn't feel stable, this corrects all of that, and it's a major reason why this is such a big deal for a car like this. The last thing to say is they throw around the term torque vectoring that this thing has, and it's not real mechanical torque vectoring. Typical real mechanical torque vectoring systems allow power to be sent to one wheel mechanically and not to the other. So the way that they do it here is it's torque vectoring by brake. They can use the brake system to brake one wheel and give you that similar effect. But other than that, this is going to be an urban, on-demand all-wheel drive setup. Wet weather, some light snow, some light gravel, it's going to kill that. And if you're planning on doing any serious off-road, that's not what this is about. But let's get this on the road and see how it drives. Setting off in the Kia Seltos SX or S trim, let's see how this thing gets off the line. The turbo in the Seltos, the turbocharged 1.6 liter, is way more than enough ample for most people. It gets off the line in first gear rather gingerly, and I'll get into that in a minute. So when you accelerate, once it picks up in first gear and goes into second, this thing is moving, and I think it's going to catch a lot of people by surprise. Now, I'm going to get into this, and I kind of touched on it in the shop. The turbocharged Hyundais and Kias have been a thorn in my side recently, in a large part because why would you put a turbocharged car or turbocharged engine in a car that's front-wheel drive and then not be able to utilize this? And I've brought this up in the K5 video. After about 50%, it turns into a mess. You get a ton of wheel spin, you get the traction stability control system coming in all the time. With the Seltos and the all-wheel drive setup, this is completely usable. You can essentially take all the power and all the torque now, and it's always utilized on the street, whether you're putting it around or you want to drive it like a maniac. And to me, that's what you need to be doing from a design and a development perspective for a customer that's spending a lot of money on a product like this. So what does that translate into? Well, simply, when you accelerate and turn the steering wheel, instead of the traction stability control system and the car plowing, wanting to plow off the road like the front wheel drive counterparts, it starts to wash out a bit. The rear wheel drive or the all-wheel drive system transfers power to the back, and it starts to straighten you out, and all the power gets put down. In fact, after driving this, I would not recommend anybody buy a front-wheel drive version of Kia or Hyundai products with a turbo in it, because this just eliminates pretty much almost all the issues that I had with the other products. So this dynamically now also handles better. It feels more natural. When you jam it through the corners or you get on the gas through an intersection, it just feels more naturally connected to the road. That's a big deal. So the next thing is the dual clutch. Now, Hyundai and Kia developed this dual clutch when everybody was on that bandwagon. You have a couple different transmission options with, well, Kia. You have a torque converted automatic, you have a CVT, you have the dual clutch option, and their CVTs are really well designed. This dual clutch, however, instead of having all the performance benefits of that type of setup, you basically throw all that out the door because it's stuttery, it's not fast to shift. When you start off from a stop, you have that hesitation. It doesn't feel like it wants to get off the line well. There's a ton of delay. And then, of course, it doesn't up and down shift fast if you want to take manual control. So basically, it's a total waste. And the people that I've had in this that don't know anything about cars, that are not car people, they drive this and they're like, what the hell is wrong with the transmission? And I think that's a big problem. The transmission in a car like this should be transparent, and it's not. And I think they probably either need to retune this or abandon it. Now, you get used to it. You get used to kind of that choppy, chuggish, or sluggish feeling sometimes, and then you forget about it, but it is disconcerting. Let's nail this off the line one more time. When this thing gets going, it really moves, and I think, you remove some of the technical attributes and you want to know how it rides and drives. And I think the big thing here is, since this has independent suspension, like the Elantra, the Forte, it is really composed. It feels controlled, it feels stable, it doesn't beat you up. The ride quality is great over every pavement type and is on the softer side. You're really going to enjoy driving this. It's one of the better affordable Hyundai and Kia products that are out there that adds a little bit of utility, but it's noisy. The engine is rattly. There's not a ton of sound absorption or sound deadening material that they added here. And then last but not least, it's wind noise. They have to cut corners, they have to cut costs somewhere to get you at this $26,000 to $28,000 price range, and it is a noisy driving experience. And because everything else is so refined in here, they've done such a good job on the all-wheel drive, some of the steering, the low kind of vibration, the good chassis tuning, suspension tuning. You kind of expect more luxury out of it from the sound part, but it is noisy. And if you're not coming from super quiet cars, you'll never notice it. But I think that's a good time to get into the final thoughts and talk about the pros and the cons overall. Final thoughts on the Kia Seltos. I am a huge fan of something like this because we all get so engrossed on the latest and greatest, all the expensive stuff, fast things, the enthusiast products, and we forget about the fact that most people cannot afford these crazy expensive cars. So when I get into something like this, I love it because I know that most people could afford it, negotiating and all of that. So let's get into the pros and cons of it. It drives really, really well for a $25,000, $26,000 car. I would not get the SX here. I would just go down to the lower trim. You cut out some of the electronics on the inside, but the core works well. The safety suite works well on any Hyundai product and Kia product across the board, regardless of cost. It's one of the best things. It feels safe. You feel confident driving this. Adding all-wheel drive and the turbo, it's so much better to drive. I can't even tell you can utilize everything. And if you want to drive like a maniac, you can. It doesn't feel like shit anymore. If you just want to put it around, you're still going to get good fuel economy. There's good sight lines in it. It's just a really well put together feeling car for the price. Now, the negative parts are, yes, the audio system sucks. The bass audio is garbage. The Bose isn't much better, but it adds the bass back that the bass does not have, or the bass models don't have, so you get a little bit better bass response there. The transmission, the dual clutch, I feel like they either need to figure out a way to reprogram it to make it more usable or quicker to react and give you the benefits of a dual clutch, or just get rid of it because it's way too herky-jerky. It's going to send up red flags to people that don't understand what it's doing mechanically. It's just not suited for this type of product. So that's the other thing. The last part is interior-wise, there's some cheapness. You know, there's a lot of wind noise coming from this. It's not the most refined interior experience, but I think they knew they weren't going to go crazy with all the nice materials, and the core of it works well. All the knobs, buttons, and switches, the ergonomics are good. But transmission performance, the road noise, and kind of some of the quality things that you feel on the interior are about the only negative parts. This is an amazing value, and now it's time to get to the last part of this, the dealership experience. And I keep saying this. I've had so many people contact me because I recommend these things a lot, and people go to the dealership, they either get the bait and switch, they get turned away, they can't test drive stuff. It's an epidemic in the Kia brand, and I would say make use of the situation with COVID. And if you have a Kia dealership near you, test the waters, get everything done on the phone and online. So when you go in, everything is set. So you can just do a test drive and walk the hell out of there. Because I think, you know, once you're in there, that's when all the manipulation starts. I hope Kia and Hyundai fix this, but it's something to 100% be aware of. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.